The front door clicked shut behind me, and the first thing I heard was Lily's laugh. That high, bubbly sound that always made my shoulders drop and my feet feel lighter after a long day at the office. I kicked off my heels right there in the hallway, not bothering to line them up neatly the way I usually did. The smell of something warm and yeasty drifted from the kitchen, and I smiled to myself. Margaret must have been baking. She did that on the days she was feeling particularly pleased with herself. I rounded the corner into the kitchen, ready to SCP Lily into my arms and cover her cheeks with kisses, but I stopped so fast my socked feet slid on the tile. Margaret sat at the kitchen table with my nephew Ethan strapped into the high chair that usually belonged to Lily. His little legs kicked happily, and his mouth opened wide for the next spoonful. The can of formula beside her was unmistakable. That pale blue tin with the German writing, the one I had special ordered from an import site because the review said it was the cleanest, the most nutritious, the very best money could buy for a growing baby. I paid almost $100 for that single can, and I had bought 3 of them just last week. In front of my own daughter, my 2-year-old Lily, sat a chipped ceramic bowl. The kind we kept in the back of the cabinet for mixing paint or soaking burnt pots. Inside the bowl was a soggy, grayish mess. Bread, from the look of it. Torn into chunks and soaked in water until it had swollen into a pasty sludge. Lily's small fingers hovered over it, uncertain, her face scrunched with a confusion that broke something deep inside my chest. Margaret did not look up when I walked in. She lifted another spoonful of formula to Ethan's waiting mouth, and he swallowed it with the greedy enthusiasm of a baby who knew exactly what he was getting. I stood frozen in the doorway, my purse still dangling from my shoulder, the strap cutting into my collarbone. My mind refused to process what I was seeing. The kitchen was the same as it always was. The same yellow curtains, the same fridge covered in magnets and Lily's crayon drawings, the same wooden block on the counter where Margaret kept her tea bags and her reading glasses. Everything was normal except for the 2 children and the 2 meals that had been completely swapped. Margaret, I said. My voice came out thin and reedy, like I had swallowed a handful of sand. What are you doing? She finally turned. Not with guilt, not with surprise. She looked at me the way she might look at a fly that had buzzed in through the screen door. Mildly annoyed. I'm feeding the children. What does it look like? My feet root moving before my brain gave the order. I walked to the table and looked down at Lily's bowl. The bread had disintegrated into something that reminded me of wallpaper paste. A few crumbs clung to the rim, and the water at the bottom was murky and cold. Lily reached for it again, and I gently pushed her hand away. Lily, baby, we don't eat that. We don't eat that at all. She looked up at me with her huge blue eyes, the same shade as Margaret's. Mama, honey, she whimpered. I looked back at Margaret. Why is Lily eating this? Why is Ethan getting the formula? Margaret set the spoon down with a deliberate clink. She wiped Ethan's chin with a cloth that had little ducks printed on it, the one I bought from that boutique downtown because I thought it would make feeding time more special. Ethan's stomach is sensitive. The doctor said he needs the best formula, the imported kind. Your brother and his wife are in a tough spot. They can't afford this. I knelt down beside Lily and pulled her into my arms. She felt so light. Too light. I had been so busy at work the past few weeks, buried in spreadsheets and client meetings, I had stopped noticing the small things. The way her cheeks had lost a little of their roundness. The way her collarbone was more visible than it used to be. I felt a cold sweat break out across my back. That formula is for Lily. I bought it for Lily. It costs over $100 a can, and I bought 3 of them last week. You're giving it to Ethan. Margaret's jaw tightened. Ethan needs it more. Ethan needs it more. I stood up so fast the chair scraped against the tile. My daughter is sitting here eating bread soaked in water. My daughter. Your granddaughter. And you're telling me Ethan needs it more? Margaret finally stood, brushing crumbs from the front of her floral apron. She was a small woman, barely 5 feet, but she read herself with the ring of someone who had never been questioned in her life. I have been helping you take care of Lily for 3 years now. 3 years. I have given up my retirement, my free time, my peace of mind to be here for you and Mark. And what do I get in return? You give me a hardship allowance of $3,000 a month. 3,000. Do you have any idea what that is compared to what your brother and his wife are living on? I read at her, my mouth hanging open. I give you that money because you're helping us. It's for your time, your expenses, all the little things you do for Lily. It's not a handout. It's payment for work. Payment, Margaret repeated, letting the word drip with contempt. You think I'm an employee? I'm your husband's mother. I'm this child's grandmother. And you treat me like a nanny you can fire at any moment. That's not true. That's never been true. My voice was climbing now, cracking at the edges. You've been feeding Lily bread and water. You've been taking the food I buy for her and giving it to Ethan. How long has this been going on? Margaret didn't flinch. Ethan is my grandson too. He's just as much a part of this family as Lily. And right now, he needs the help more. You have everything. A house, 2 cars, a good job, a healthy daughter. David and his wife have nothing. They're drowning. I made a choice. I set Lily back in her chair, my hands trembling so badly I had to grip the edge of the table to steady myself. You made a choice to steal from my child. That's what you did. You stole her food and gave it to someone else. It's just bread, raw. You're making a fuss over bread. My grandmother raised 8 children on bread and water. They all grew up strong and healthy. Lily is not suffering. Lily is 2 years old. She needs proper nutrition. She needs vitamins, minerals, protein. She doesn't need soggy breadcrumbs from a chipped bowl. I was shouting now, I could hear it echoing off the kitchen walls, but I couldn't stop myself. And I don't see what your grandmother did. This is not your grandmother's house. This is not your grandmother's time. This is my child. My daughter. And you have been neglecting her. Lily sta rude to cry. It was a thin, red wail, the sound she made when something was deeply wrong. I scp'd her back into my arms and held her against my chest, rocking her the way I used to when she was a newborn. Margaret turned her back to me and began gathering Ethan's things. Bottles, diapers, a little stuffed rabbit. You're being dramatic. I have been taking care of this child for 3 years and she is perfectly fine. Look at her. She's thriving. She's not thriving. She's too light. She's pale. Have you seen her skin lately? She's supposed to have color in her cheeks. Every child is different. Some are pale. It's genetics. Genetics, I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Genetics has nothing to do with the fact that you've been feeding my daughter garbage while my nephew gets the best formula money can buy. This is theft. Plain and simple. Margaret finally turned back to face me. Her eyes were cold, flat, like someone had drained all the warmth out of them. You think you're so righteous, she said. You think because you have a good job and a nice house that you're a good mother. But I have seen the way you are with Lily. You're never here. You're always working, always on your phone, always distracted. I am the one who raises her. I am the one who wakes up with her in the middle of the night. I am the one who takes her to the parque and holds her hand when she falls. You don't know your own daughter, Ra. You don't even know what she likes to eat for breakfast. I felt like I had been slapped. That's not fair. Fair doesn't matter. What matters is that someone is paying attention. And I made a choice to put the family resources where they were most needed. Your brother-in-law lost his job. Your sister-in-law is sick. They can't afford the good formula, and Ethan has a sensitive stomach. So I gave him what he needed. Lily will survive on bread and water. She's not going to sta Irv. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw something. Instead, I stood there holding my crying daughter, my whole body shaking with a fury I had never felt before. You are re-fired, I said. The words hung in the air between us. Margaret blinked. What did you say? You were re-fired? Effective immediately. Pack your things. You are not staying in this house another night. You cannot do that. This is my son's house too. I am his mother. I have rights. You have rights. I laughed again, the sound hollow and broken. You have rights to steal from my child. You have rights to lie to my face every single day for who knows how long. You have no rights in this house anymore. You've lost them. Margaret grabbed her phone from the counter and held it up. I'm calling Mark right now. Let's see what he has to say about his wife kicking his mother out of the house. Call him, I said. Call him right now. I want him to hear exactly what you've been doing. She dialed. I watched her with the same cold stillness I used to watch my father when he was about to lie his way out of a situation. I recognized the tilt of her chin, the narrowing of her eyes, the way she took a deep breath before she began to speak. I had seen all of it before, but I had never seen it pointed at me. Mark answered on the second ring. Hey, babe. You home? Margaret said, her voice suddenly dripping with wounded dignity. Your wife has just accused me of stealing from Lily and kicked me out of the house. I strode across the kitchen and snatched the phone from her hand. Mark, listen to me. I came home and found Lily sitting at the table eating bread soaked in water. Margaret was feeding Ethan the imported formula I bought. She admitted it. She said she's been doing it because David's family needs the help more. There was a long silence on the other end. Then Mark's voice, strained and refill. Ra, slow down. There has to be a misunderstanding. My mom wouldn't do that. I saw it with my own eyes. She admitted it. She told me she's been doing it for months, maybe longer. Lily is too light, Mark. She's pale. I should have noticed sooner. Another silence. I could hear him breathing, could imagine him pinching the bridge of his nose the way he did when he was trying to stay calm. Let me talk to her. No. You need to come home. You need to see this for yourself. Come home right now. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Don't do anything rash. Just wait for me. The line went dead. I handed the phone back to Margaret, my arm aching from holding Lily. Margaret took the phone, her expression smug. You see, he doesn't believe you. He knows his mother. He knows I would never hurt my grandchildren. Get out, I said. Pack your things and get out of this house before I do something I'll regret. Margaret walked past me with a theatrical sigh. You are being absolutely ridiculous. But fine. I'll go. I'll stay at David's house tonight. And when Mark gets home and realizes what a mistake he made, you'll be begging me to come back. She read down the hallway, and I heard the creak of the bedroom door. Ethan sta root fussing in his high chair, and I went to him, lifting him out ca refully. He was a sweet baby, innocent in all of this. I held him against my hip and bounced him gently while Lily clung to my leg. Mark walked through the front door 14 minutes later. He was pale, his tie loose, his hair sticking up in the back the way it did when he'd been running his hands through it. He looked at me, at Lily, at the chipped bowl still sitting on the table, at the SMARS of bread paste dried on the rim. Tell me what happened, he said. I told him. Every word. I told him about the formula, about the bread, about Margaret's cold confession. I told him what she said about David's family, about making a choice, about Lily surviving on bread and water the way her grandmother's grandmother had raised 8 children. I told him everything. When I finished, Mark walked to the table and picked up the bowl. He read into it like it held the secrets of some dark and unfamiliar world. She did this, he said quietly. She really did this. Your brother lost his job 6 months ago, I said. Your sister-in-law is sick. Margaret has been funneling our money and our resources to them while I was at work. She's been taking the hardship allowance and using it to support them. Mark set the bowl down ca refully. I didn't know. Of course you didn't know. You were at work. I was at work. We trusted her. We trusted her with our child, and she used that trust to steal from us. Margaret emerged from the hallway with a small suitcase. She had changed her apron for a neat cardigan, and she looked like she was heading out for a peaceful Sunday lunch. I'm leaving now, she said. I'll call you tomorrow, Mark, after you've had time to think about this. Mom, Mark said, his voice sharp, you can't do this. Do what help my family? You mean that? No, I mean you can't just walk away after what you did to Lily. Margaret stopped at the front door and turned. I didn't do anything to Lily. I fed her. I kept her safe. I watched her every single day while both of you were at work. And this is the thanks I get. Accusations. Cruelty. Your wife kicking me out like a common thief. You are a thief, I said. You stole my daughter's food and gave it to someone else. You have no proof, Margaret said. You have a chipped bowl and a story. That's not proof. That's hysteria. Mark moved to stand beside me. Mom, I saw the formula can. I saw the bowl. Sarah isn't lying. I believe her. Margaret's face went pale. She had expected him to take her side, to smooth things over, to make excuses for her the way he always did. But Mark was looking at her with an expression I had never seen on his face before. It was the look of someone who had just seen the truth and could not unsee it. Get out, Mark said. Just go. We'll talk tomorrow. But tonight, I need you out of this house. Margaret walked out the door without another word. She didn't slam it. She closed it softly, the latch clicking into place with a gentle finality. Mark turned to me and took my hands. His palms were sweaty and cold. I believe you, he said again. I believe everything you told me. I nodded, the tears finally spilling down my cheeks. She said there are things I don't know. About the family. About Lily. She said I'd wish I'd kept my mouth shut. Mark pulled me into his arms, my head pressing into his chest. Whatever she said, it doesn't matter. We have Lily. We have each other. We'll figure this out. Lily reached up and patted my cheek with her small damp hand. Mama sad? She asked. I smiled through the tears. No, baby. Mama is okay. Mama is just tired. We stood in the kitchen, the three of us, while the afternoon light began to fade and the shadows crept across the floor. The chipped bowl still sat on the table, a silent witness to everything that had just happened. I would throw it away later. I would throw away every single thing in this house that reminded me of Margaret. But first, I had to figure out what she meant. She said I didn't know the truth about Lily. She said there were things I didn't understand. And I had a sick feeling that she was right. The house felt hollow after Margaret walked out. I stood in the kitchen with Lily still clinging to my leg and Mark's arms wrapped around both of us, but the warmth of that embrace couldn't reach the cold knot that had formed in my stomach. The chipped bowl sat on the table like an accusation, the grayish paste of bread and water congealing around the edges. I wanted to smash it against the wall. Instead, I pulled away from Mark and carried Lily to the sink, washing her hands with soap and warm water while she babbled about her blocks and the neighbor's cat. Mark picked up the bowl and dumped its contents into the trash. He stood there for a long moment, staring at the garbage can like it held answers to questions he didn't know how to ask. She never said anything, he finally muttered. Not once. I would ask how Lily was doing, and she'd say fine. Great. Wonderful. She'd send me pictures of Lily playing in the backyard, Lily eating her lunch, Lily smiling in her high chair. All of it was lies. I dried Lily's hands with a towel and lifted her onto my hip. She's been doing this for months, Mark. Maybe longer. I noticed Lily seemed tired lately, but I thought it was just a phase. I noticed she wasn't finishing her bottles, but I blamed myself for buying the wrong brand. I noticed she felt light when I carried her, but I told myself I was being paranoid. Mark walked back to the table and sat down heavily. The chair creaked under his weight. I should have known. I should have paid more attention. How could you know you were at work? I was at work. We trusted her. That was our mistake. Lily sta squirming in my arms, so I set her down and let her toddle toward her toy basket in the corner of the living room. The house felt too quiet without Margaret's humming or the constant sound of her shuffling slippers. I had gotten used to that noise over 3 years. I had learned to tune it out, to let it fade into the background of my daily life. Now I noticed every silence. Mark pulled out his phone and scrolled through something. She sent me a text a few minutes ago, he said. It says she's sorry for everything but that she did what she had to do. She says David's family is in crisis and she couldn't stand by and watch them suffer. Did she mention Lily? He shook his head. Not a word. Not even an apology for Lily. Just justification. I walked over and sat across from him at the table. The refrigerator hummed in the corner, a sound I usually never noticed but now seemed deafening. What did she mean when she said there are things I don't know? About this family. About Lily. She pointed at Lily when she said it. She looked right at her. Mark ran a hand over his face. His stubble was rough against his palm, the shadow of a beard that only Ape read when he was too exhausted to shave. My mom has always played favorites. It was never a secret that David was her favorite. She could never hide it, not really. He got away with things I never could. He got more presents on his birthday, more praise for small accomplishments, more patience when he made mistakes. I grew up thinking it was because he was younger, or because he was sickly as a baby, or because he was just more like her. But now I wonder if it was always this deep. Is there something about Lily she knows that we don't? Mark's eyes met mine. What could she possibly know about our own daughter that we don't? I don't know, I admitted. But she said it with such confidence. She wasn't bluffing. She had something in her back pocket, something she was saving for the moment she needed it most. The conversation paused while I went to check on Lily. She had pulled out her plastic farm animals and was lining them up in a neat row, her tongue poking out in concentration. She looked perfectly normal. She looked happy. But I knelt down and lifted her shirt, running my hands over her ribs. They were too prominent. I felt a lump form in my throat and forced myself to swallow it down. Mark came up behind me and placed a hand on my shoulder. She's going to be fine. We caught it in time. Did we catch it in time? We don't even know how long this has been going on. A week, a month, 6 months. She hasn't lost enough weight to be in any danger. She's still laughing, still playing, still meeting all her milestones. We'll take her to the doctor tomorrow. We'll get her checked out. But right now we need to focus on what we do know. I stood up and turned to face him. What do we know? We know my mom has been stealing our money and our resources. We know she's been giving them to David. We know she's been feeding Lily inadequate food while pretending everything was fine. And we know she made a cryptic threat about something we don't understand. That's not enough, I said. That's below the surface. Mark pulled out his phone again. I'm calling David. He needs to know what happened. You think he doesn't already know? Mark paused. What do you mean? Marga Red has been giving him money and formula for months. Do you really think he never asked where it came from? Do you think he never noticed that the brand of formula suddenly changed from the cheap store stuff to the imported European stuff? He might be in survival mode, but he's not stupid. Mark's jaw tightened. You think David was in on it? I think he knew enough to suspect. I think he chose not to ask questions because the alternative was going without. And I don't blame him for that entirely, but I also can't pretend he's innocent. Mark called his brother anyway. I could hear David's voice on the other end, muffled and wary, like he had been expecting this call for a long time. Mom just showed up here, David said. She brought a suitcase. She said Sarah kicked her out. Because she was stealing from our daughter, Mark said flatly. She was feeding Lily bread and water while she gave Ethan the expensive formula Sarah bought. There was a long pause. When David spoke again, his voice had lost its defensive edge. She told me she was using her pension. She said the extra money was from her savings. I asked her a few times how she could afford everything, and she said not to worry about it, that she had it under control. I didn't want to push. You didn't want to push, Mark repeated, his voice cold. You didn't want to push because you were getting help and you didn't see where it came from. That's not fair, Mark. You don't know what it's been like over here. Emily can't work. She can get out of bed on bad days. The medical bills piling up. I lost my job 6 months ago and the only reason we haven't been evicted is because Mom kept stepping in. I was red. I was desperate. And when someone offers you a lifeline, you don't ask about the knots. I took the phone from Mark. David, I'm not trying to blame you. But I need you to be honest with me. Did Mom ever say anything about Lily? Did she ever mention that she was feeding her differently from Ethan? David was silent for a moment. She said Lily was a picky eater. She said she had trouble with texture and that bread and water were the only things she could keep down. I thought it was strange, but I didn't know anything about babies. I just took her word for it. That's not true, David. Lily eats everything. Vegetables, fruit, meat, yogurt. She's never been picky a day in her life. I heard him exhale slowly. I'm sorry, Sarah. I'm sorry I didn't push harder. I'm sorry I didn't ask more questions. I was just so relieved to have help that I didn't want to jeopardize it. I handed the phone back to Mark. He finished the conversation with a few clipped sentences and hung up. She's been manipulating all of us, he said. David, me, you, Lily. She built a whole web of lies and we all just walked right into it. I walked to the window and looked out at the street. The leaves were rooting to turn, a few gold and red patches among the green. She said she had a lawyer, I said. What kind of lawyer would she need? Mark frowned. I don't know. She never mentioned a lawyer to me. David said something about a lawyer too. He said Margaret told him she was dealing with something complicated. Something about the farmhouse, maybe. The farmhouse. Mark's face went pale. The one upstate that belongs to my Aunt Ellen. It's been in the family for decades. Margaret might be trying to sell it, I said. Or transfer it. Or something. If she's desperate enough to steal from her own granddaughter, she's desperate enough to steal from her own sister. Mark pulled out his phone again and root sea urching. I don't remember the last time I talked to Aunt Ellen. Mom always handled that side of the family. She said Ellen wasn't doing well, that she had some kind of cognitive decline. I just took her word for it. And she used that to isolate her, I said slowly. If Ellen is sick and Margaret is the only one in contact with her, Margaret could be doing anything with that property. Selling it, mortgaging it, using it as collateral for loans. Mark set his phone down. I need to call Ellen's retaker. I need to find out what's really going on. While he made the call, I went to the kitchen and opened the pantry. Row after row of organic baby food, jars of pureed vegetables and fruits that I had carefully selected for Lily's nutrition. I pulled them all out and checked the dates. None of them had been touched. Margaret had been letting Lily eat bread and water while all this good food sat on the shelves. I root crying. Not the quiet tears I had been holding back, but ugly, heaving sobs that racked my entire body. I sank to the kitchen floor with a jar of sweet potato puree in my hands and let myself fall apart. Mark found me there a few minutes later. He knelt beside me and pried the jar from my fingers, setting it aside. We're going to fix this, he said. All of it. We're going to take care of Lily, and we're going to take care of ourselves, and we're going to make sure she never gets away with anything like this again. She's had 3 years to build this lie, I said through the TRS, 3 years of coming into this house every day and looking at me and telling me Lily was fine. 3 years of taking my money and my trust and using it to build a safety net for someone else. I don't even know who she is anymore. Mark pulled me into his arms and held me while I cried. Lily toddled into the kitchen and stood at my knees, patting my leg with her small hands. Mama sad, she said again. Mama cry. I reached down and lifted her into my lap. Mama's okay, baby. Mama just needed to get it all out. We sat on the kitchen floor, the 3 of us, while the light outside shifted from afternoon gold to evening gray. Mark's phone buzzed a few times, but he ignored it. He was holding us, his arms wrapped around both of us, his chin resting on my head. I called Ellen's retaker, he finally said. Her name is Patricia. She's been looking after Ellen for about 2 years. She said Mom visits Ellen once a month, but she never stays long. She said Mom has been asking a lot of questions about the property deed and the title. She said Ellen is still lucid enough to make decisions, but Mom has been pressuring her to sign something. Sign what? A transfer of ownership. Mom told Ellen that the property needed to be placed in a trust for tax reasons. Ellen was suspicious, so she refused. Patricia said Ellen is red of Mom. She told Patricia to never let Mom be alone with her. I felt a chill run down my spine. Your mother is trying to take her sister's house. Patricia said she's been looking into it. She found some documents in Ellen's file that suggest Mom has already talked to a real estate agent. The property might be listed for sale already. I stood up. Lily's still in my ARMS. We need to stop her. Mark rose too. I already called a lawyer. An old friend from college who specializes in estate fraud. He's going to look into it and see if Mom has been forging documents. Forging documents, I repeated, my stomach turning. She's been forging documents. Like she forged the story about Lily. Like she forged the truth about her CA. Mark put a hand on my cheek. We're going to stop her, SA Raw. We're going to expose all of it. Every last bit. I nodded, wiping my eyes with the back of my hand. We need to check our bank records. She's had access to our joint account for ERS. If she's been stealing from us, there might be traces of it there. We walked to the office and sat down at the computer. I logged into our online banking and STA route, scrolling through the transaction history. At first, everything looked normal. The mortgage payments, the grocery bills, the monthly transfer to the college fund. But then I noticed a recurring withdrawal. Every month, on the first, $600 RS was transferred to an account I didn't recognize. Mark, I said, pointing at the screen. Do you know what this is? He leaned in and squinted at the screen. That's not me. I never authorized that. $600 RS a month. That's over $7,000 RS in a year. 3 RS is more than $20,000 RS. Mark sat back in his chair, his face white. She's been moving money out of our account for 3 RS. And she's been taking the hardship allowance, I added. That's another $3,000 a month. $4,000 RS total. Every single month. She's been taking NEARLY $50,000 RS a year from us. Mark buried his face in his hands. I can't believe I didn't see this. I can't believe I trusted her so completely. I put a hand on his back. We both trusted her. That's not your fault. That's her fault. We spent the next hour going through the statements, marking every suspicious transaction with a highlighter. There were dozens of them. Small transfers, large transfers, payments to credit cards we didn't recognize. MARGA red had been bleeding us dry for ERS. When we finally stopped, the list covered 3 pages. I set the highlighter down and looked at Mark. We need to freeze the account. He nodded. First thing tomorrow. We'll close everything and open new accounts in only our names. She won't have access to another cent. And we need to talk to David again. We need to know exactly what she's been telling him. Mark called David again. This time, David was more forthcoming. He admitted that MARGA red had been paying their rent for the past 18 months. She had been covering Emily's medical bills, buying groceries, even paying for a CAR repair. He didn't know the total amount, but he estimated it was close to $30,000 RS. Where did she say the money was coming from? Mark demanded. That she said it was from her inheritance. From her parents. She said she had a lot saved up and she wanted to help us while she was still alive. Her parents died 20 years ago. There was no inheritance. She's been lying to you just as much as she's been lying to us. David was quiet for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice was shattered. I believed her because I wanted to believe her. I wanted to think someone was taking CAR of us. I didn't want to ask questions because I was afraid of the answers. Mark softened his tone. I know, David. I know. But we have to work together now. We have to stop her. We ended the call with a promise to meet the next day. I looked at Mark across the office, the documents spread out between us like evidence in a crime scene. Which, I supposed, they were. Tomorrow, I said, we start fighting back. The morning light crept through the blinds, thin and pale, like it was afraid to fully enter the house. I had not slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the chipped bowl, the gray paste, Lily's confused little face reaching for something I had to push away. I lay in bed with Mark's arm draped over my waist, his breathing steady and deep, but my mind refused to quiet. The list of transactions we had highlighted the night before burned behind my eyelids. 3 pages of evidence that Margaret had been bleeding us dry for years. I slipped out of bed before the alarm went off and padded to the kitchen. Lily was still asleep, her small body curled in the crib we had moved into our room the night before. I could not bear to have her out of my sight. I made coffee and sat at the table, ring at the empty spot where the chipped bowl used to be. Mark had thrown it away, but I could still see it there, a ghost of betrayal haunting the morning. Mark found me an hour later, my coffee cold and untouched. He poured himself a cup and sat across from me. We have an appointment with the family lawyer at 9. Patricia, the one who handles the estate stuff, she's meeting us there. I nodded. What about the bank I already called? They froze the joint account. Margaret can't access anything. We'll open new accounts this afternoon. I took a sip of the cold coffee just to have something to do with my hands. And Lily, I want to take her to the pediatrician. Already scheduled for 11. I called first thing. We moved through the morning like automatons, dressing Lily, feeding her real food from the pantry that Margaret had never touched, buckling her into her car seat. The pediatrician took one look at Lily's weight chart and frowned. She asked about eating habits, about the quantity of formula, about any recent illnesses. I told her everything. The bread. The water. The imported formula given to a cousin instead. The doctor's face remained professional, but I saw the flicker of anger in her eyes. She ordered blood work and a full nutritional panel. She gave us a list of high-calorie foods to supplement Lily's diet. She told us to come back in 2 weeks for a follow-up. We caught it early, she said. She's not in any immediate danger. But this is neglect, plain and simple. If this had continued for another 6 months, we would be looking at developmental delays, possibly even failure to thrive. The words hung in the air like a sentence. I ride Lily out of the office with my arms wrapped so tightly around her that she rude to squirm. Patricia's office was downtown, in a brick building with a creaky elevator and a receptionist who offered me a glass of water I did not want. Patricia herself was a no-nonsense woman in her late 60s, with silver-streaked hair pulled back in a clip and reading glasses perched on her nose. She had the kind of face that had seen everything and was not easily impressed. She listened to our story without interrupting. She took notes on a yellow legal pad, her pen moving in neat, precise strokes. When I finished, she set the pen down and looked at us over her glasses. First things first, she said. We need to freeze every account with Margaret's name on it. I understand you already root that process. Good. But I want to make sure there are no hidden accounts, credit cards, loans, lines of credit she might have opened in your names. Mark shifted in his chair. She wouldn't do that. She wouldn't go that far. Patricia's expression did not change. She stole from her granddaughter's mouth to feed her favorite grandson. She's been transferring money out of your accounts for years. I would not put anything past her at this point. I pulled out the photocopies of our bank statements and slid them across the desk. We highlighted everything we could find. But there might be more we missed. Patricia studied the papers with a surgeon's focus. She made a small sound in the back of her throat, something between acknowledgement and disgust. This is extensive. She's been systematic about it. Small amounts each month, nothing big enough to trigger a bank alert. She knew exactly what she was doing. I need to know about the farmhouse, I said. The one upstate. Mark's mother has been trying to sell it, we think. His Aunt Ellen owns half of it, but she's in a CA facility with EARLY stage dementia. Marga Rhett is her legal guardian. Patricia's pen began to move again. Do you know who the CA retaker is? The one at the facility, Patricia, Mark said. The CA retaker is also named Patricia. She called us yesterday. She said Marga Rhett has been pressuring Ellen to sign a transfer of ownership. She said Ellen is SCA Rhett of her. The lawyer nodded slowly. I'll get in touch with her. I'll also pull the deed and see if any documents have been filed. If Marga Rhett has been forging signatures, we need to catch it before the sale goes through. Can we stop her? I asked. Can we stop her from selling a house that isn't hers? If Ellen is still legally competent to make her own decisions, we can have a guardian ad litem appointed to represent her interests. That would freeze any transfers. If Ellen is no longer competent, we can challenge Marga Rhett's guardianship on the grounds of financial abuse. Mark leaned forward. How long would that take? Weeks, maybe months. But we can get an emergency injunction in the meantime. That would prevent any sale from going through while we investigate. I felt something loosen in my chest. A small victory, but a victory nonetheless. Patricia continued. Now, about the criminal side. The theft from your accounts, the forgery, the potential identity theft, that's a matter for the police. I can help you file a report, but the district attorney will decide whether to press charges. Would they press charges? Mark asked. She's my mother. I don't want to destroy her. She's destroyed herself, Patricia said bluntly. You're just the ones holding the evidence. If she committed a crime, she needs to face the consequences. Otherwise, she'll do it again. To you, to someone else, to another family member. This behavior doesn't stop on its own. It escalates. I thought of the chipped bowl. I thought of Lily's 2 prominent ribs. Press charges, I said. I want to press charges. Mark looked at me. I saw the conflict in his eyes, the war between loyalty and justice. But he nodded. I agree. We press charges. Patricia made a note. I'll draft the police report and have you review it by tomorrow. In the meantime, I want you to document everything. Receipts, photos, bank statements, text messages. Any communication you've had with Marga Rhett over the past few years. I want to build a case that leaves no room for doubt. We left her office with a folder full of forms and a sense of grim purpose. On the way to the CAR, Mark stopped me with a hand on my ARMSA. He said, "Are you sure about this? Pressing charges means a trial. It means a public record. It means my mother could go to prison." I turned to face him. She stole from our daughter. She neglected our child. She lied to us for years. If that's not worth pressing charges, then I don't know what is. He looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. You're right. I just needed to hear you say it. We drove home in silence, each of us lost in our own thoughts. Lily fell asleep in her car seat, her head lolling to the side, her thumb tucked in her mouth. I reached back and stroked her cheek, feeling the soft warmth of her skin. When we got home, there was a car parked in our driveway. A beat-up sedan with a dented bumper and a sticker on the back window. I recognized it immediately. David Car. He was sitting on our front steps, his head in his hands. When he saw us pull in, he stood up slowly, his face haggard and his eyes swollen from crying. I had never seen him look so broken. David, Mark said, getting out of the car, what are you doing here? I need to talk to you both. About Mom. About everything. We went inside and sat around the kitchen table. The same table where I had found Lily eating bread and water. The same table where Margaret had stood and justified her lies. I poured David a glass of water and he drank it in one long gulp. Emily found out, he said finally. About the money, about the formula, about everything. She went through our bank statements and saw the deposits. She asked me where it was coming from, and I told her the truth. She kicked me out. Kicked you out? Mark repeated. She said she won't live with a man who benefits from child neglect. She said she can't look at me the same way knowing that Ethan's food came from Lily's stolen meals. She took Ethan and went to her sister's house. I don't know if she's coming back. I felt a strange mix of emotions. Sympathy for David, anger at Margaret, and a flicker of something that might have been relief. Emily had done the right thing. She had drawn a line I had not known she was capable of drawing. David, I said ruefully, we're pressing charges against Margaret for theft, fraud, and child neglect. We wanted to tell you before we did anything. He nodded slowly. I thought you might. I'm not going to stop you. I should have done it myself years ago. Did you know? Mark asked. Did you know she was stealing from us? David shook his head. Not the details. I knew she was helping us financially, but I thought she was using her own savings. She told me she had money set aside from her parents' estate. She told me you two were doing well and didn't need the help. I believed her because I wanted to believe her. She's been forging documents, I said. Bank documents, loan applications, maybe even property transfers. She tried to sell your aunt's farmhouse without her permission. David's face went pale. Ellen's house, she would never do that. Ellen is her sister. She's been pressuring Ellen to sign a transfer of ownership, Mark said. Ellen is rid of her. The retaker told us. David put his head in his hands again. She's been lying to everyone. To me, to you, to Ellen, to Emily. She's built her whole life on lies. I reached across the table and put a hand on his arm. David, we're not blaming you. We're not blaming Emily. We're blaming her. And we're going to make sure she never does this to anyone again. He looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. What do I do? How do I make this right? First, you tell Emily the whole truth. Every single thing you know. Then you cooperate with the investigation. Tell the police everything Margaret ever told you about the money. Give them access to your bank statements. Let them see the full picture. David nodded. I'll do it. I'll do whatever it takes. We talked for another hour, going over every detail, every conversation, every transaction we could remember. By the time David left, the sun was setting and the house was growing dim. I watched his car disappear down the street and felt a strange sense of solidarity. We were all victims of Margaret's manipulation. We were all trying to piece together the wreckage she had left behind. Mark came up behind me and wrapped his arms around my waist. We're going to get through this, he said. One step at a time. I leaned back against him. I know. But I'm rid of what we're going to find when we keep digging. We'll find it together. Lily woke from her nap and called out for me. I went to her room and lifted her from the crib, holding her close. She was so small, so fragile, so utterly dependent on me to keep her safe. I had failed her once by trusting the wrong person. I would never fail her again. That night, while Mark was putting Lily to bed, I went back to the office and pulled out the stack of documents we had gathered. I spread them across the desk in sta route, organizing them by date. The earliest one was from 18 months ago. A small transfer, just a few $100s. Nothing suspicious on its own. But when you looked at the pattern, the picture emerged like a photograph developing into grim chemicals. A slow, methodical drain on our resources. I found something I had missed before. A credit card statement from a bank I had never heard of, addressed to Mark. It showed a balance of $12,000. I had never seen this card before. I had never authorized it. I read it into the bedroom and showed it to Mark. He read it like it was a snake coiled on the bedsheet. I didn't open this. I've never seen this road. She opened it, I said. In your name. She's been using it for years. Mark sat down heavily on the edge of the bed. She used my social security number. She used my date of birth. She stole my identity. And she's been paying the minimum balance every month, I said. That's why we never got a collection notice. She kept it under control so we would never find out. How long has this been going on? I checked the statement date. This one is from 2 years ago. There's a whole history here. I haven't even gone through all of it yet. Mark took the statement from my hands and studied it. His face was a mask of shock and betrayal. She's been doing this for years. All those family dinners, all those holidays, all those times she said she loved me. It was all a lie. It wasn't all a lie, I said gently. I think she does love you. In her own way. But she loves David more. And she's willing to destroy anyone to give him what she thinks he deserves. Mark crumpled the statement in his fist. I'm going to destroy her. In court, I'm going to destroy her. We will, I said. Together. We spent the rest of the night combing through every piece of paper we could find, every email, every bank statement, every credit card bill. By the time the sun rose, we had a stack of evidence that took up half the desk. And I knew, with a cold certainty, that we had only scratched the surface. The stack of evidence on the desk had grown to 3 inches thick by the time we finished sorting through everything. Credit card statements, bank transfers, photocopies of checks, and a growing list of accounts Mark had opened in our names without our knowledge. I sat back in my chair, my eyes burning from staring at numbers and dates for hours. Mark had finally fallen asleep on the couch in the office, his head tilted back, his mouth slightly open. I let him rest. He needed it more than I did. I picked up the phone and called Patricia, the lawyer. It was really 7 in the morning, but I knew she would be awake. She answered on the second ring, her voice crisp and alert. We found more, I said. Credit cards, loans, lines of credit. All in Mark's name. She's been building a whole parallel financial system. Patricia was silent for a moment. How much total are we talking about? I flipped through the pages, adding up the balances in my head. At least $50,000. Maybe more. I haven't finished tallying everything yet. Send me everything you have. I'll have my paralegal start organizing it for the police report. We also need to put a freeze on Mark's credit. She may have opened accounts with other banks we haven't discovered yet. I wrote down the instructions and hung up. Mark stirred on the couch, blinking in the morning light. What time is it? Almost 7:30. I called Patricia. She wants us to freeze your credit. He sat up slowly, rubbing his face. I can't believe she did this. I can't believe I trusted her with everything. Neither can I. But we're going to fix it. We spent the next hour on the phone with credit bureaus, freezing Mark's credit, putting fraud alerts on our accounts. The process was tedious and exhausting, but each step felt like taking back a piece of what Marga had stolen. Lily woke up and called for me. I went to her room and lifted her out of the crib, holding her close. She was still so light. The doctor had given us a high-calorie supplement to add to her formula, and I had been feeding her small, frequent meals all day. She seemed happier, more alert. Or maybe that was just my imagination, the desperate hope of a guilty mother. After breakfast, I strapped Lily into her high chair and set a bowl of oatmeal in front of her. She ate eagerly, spoonful after spoonful, and I felt a small measure of relief. She was hungry. She wanted to eat. She just hadn't been given the chance. Mark sat across from me, ring at his coffee. I got a call from David this morning. Emily is still at her sister's house. She hasn't come home yet. Is she going to come home? I don't know. David said she's talking about moving out permanently. She can't look at him without seeing the money and what it cost. I stirred my own coffee, watching the cream swirl into the Mark liquid. I can't blame her. If the roles were reversed, I would have done the same thing. Mark looked up at me. You would have left me. I would have needed time. Space. Time to think about who I'm alright and whether I could trust him again. Emily needs that time, Mark. We can't rush her. He nodded slowly. I know. I just feel so guilty. We trusted my mother and it cost my brother his marriage. We trusted her together. That guilt is red. We finished breakfast in silence. I washed the dishes while Mark played with Lily on the living room floor. The morning sun poured through the windows, warm and golden, and for a few moments everything felt almost normal. Then my phone buzzed. I dried my hands and picked it up. The screen showed Margaret's name. I answered with a sharpness I didn't bother to hide. What do you want, Sarah? Her voice came through smooth and controlled. I think we need to talk. There are things you don't know. Things about Lily that I think you should hear. I've heard enough from you. I don't want to talk. I'm not asking, Sarah. I'm telling you. If you don't meet with me, I'll take what I know to the authorities. I'll make sure they know the truth about your daughter. I felt my blood run cold. The truth about my daughter. You're the one who's been abusing her. I've been caring for her. Feeding her, changing her, watching her every single day while you've been at work. You don't know what you're talking about. I know you fed my child bread and water while you gave her cousin imported formula. I know you stole thousands of dollars from our accounts. I know you opened credit cards in my husband's name. You're not a victim, Margaret. You're a criminal. There was a long silence on the other end. When she spoke again, her voice had lost its smooth edge. I did what I had to do. David needed help. He needed me. And I'm not going to apologize for taking care of my family. You're not taking care of anyone. You're destroying everyone. I'll meet you at the Park on 4th Street. Tomorrow at noon. Come alone. If you bring Mark or anyone else, I'll make sure the story gets out. The line went dead before I could respond. I stood in the kitchen, gripping the phone so tightly my knuckles turned white. Mark walked in from the living room. Who was that Margaret? She wants to meet. She says she has information about Lily. She threatened to go to the authorities if I don't show up. Mark's face went pale. You're not going alone. She said I have to come alone or she won't talk. Then we'll go together. But we're not letting you face her by yourself. I shook my head. If I bring you, she'll clam up. She'll take whatever secret she's holding and use it to destroy us. I need to know what she has. I need to know if there's something we don't know about Lily. There's nothing we don't know about Lily. She's our daughter. We know everything about her. I thought we knew everything about Margaret too, I said quietly. And look how that turned out. Mark ran a hand through his hair, a gesture of frustration I had come to recognize over the ARS. I'll park a block away. I'll be close enough to help if anything goes wrong. I agreed. I didn't want to face Margaret alone. But I also knew that whatever secret she was holding, I had to hear it face to face. I had to know the depth of her manipulation. The next day, I arrived at the park 15 minutes early. It was a small neighborhood park with a swing set and a slide, tucked between two rows of old houses. A few mothers pushed strollers along the path, and a group of teenagers sat on the benches, laughing at something on their phones. I found a bench near the slide and sat down, my hands shaking in my lap. Margaret arrived exactly at noon. She walked slowly, deliberately, her posture straight and her face composed. She wore a tailored coat and sensible shoes, the picture of a dignified grandmother. No one looking at her would have guessed she had stolen from her own grandchild. She sat down beside me on the bench, leaving a rifle distance between us. Thank you for coming. I didn't come for you. I came for the truth. She turned to face me, her eyes cold and calculating. The truth is, Lily is not Mark's biological daughter. I felt my heart stop. That's a lie. It's not. I have proof. I did a DNA test 6 months ago. I took a sample of Lily's hair and compared it to a sample from David. The test came back a 99.9% match. I read at her, unable to process what she was saying. That's impossible. I've never been with David. Not once. Not ever. You sure think back. 6 years ago. A family barbecue at my house. You had too much wine. David was there. You don't remember what happened. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. Nothing happened. I remember everything. I remember David making a pass at me and I pushed him away. I told Mark about it the next day. Margaret smiled. That's what you told Mark. But you were drunk, weren't you? You don't remember everything. I remember enough. I remember saying no. I remember walking away. David was drunk too. He stumbled off and I never spoke to him about it again. Maybe you remember what you want to remember. But the DNA test doesn't lie, raw. Lily is David's child. You had an affair with my son, and you've been lying about it for years. I stood up from the bench, my legs shaking beneath me. You're lying. You've been lying about everything. Why would I believe anything you say? Because I have the test results right here. She pulled a folded piece of paper from her purse and held it out to me. Read it for yourself. I took the paper with trembling hands. It was a DNA test result from a mail-in service. It listed Lily's name, David's name, and a probability of paternity, 99.98%. I read at the numbers. They seemed to swim on the page, blurring and sharpening in turns. This is fake. You forged this. You've been forging documents for years. Margaret's expression didn't change. It's not fake. It's the truth. And if you don't tell Mark the truth, I will. I'll take this test to the authorities. I'll make sure everyone knows that your daughter is not his child. I crumpled the paper in my fist. You're trying to destroy my mariage. You're trying to take my daughter away. I'm trying to protect my family. David deserves to know his daughter. Mark deserves to know the truth. And you deserve to stop living a lie. I threw the crumpled paper back at her. You're wrong. You're wrong about everything. And I'm going to prove it. Margaret stood up, brushing off her coat. Do what you have to do. But I'm not going away. I will not let this slide. She walked away, her heels clicking on the pavement. I watched her go, my whole body shaking with rage and fear. I walked back to where Mark was parked, a block away. He jumped out of the car as soon as he saw me. What happened? What did she say? I couldn't speak. I pulled out my phone and showed him the photo I had taken of the DNA test results before crumpling them. She says Lily isn't yours. She says I had an affair with David. Mark's face went white. That's not true. I know it's not true. But she has a test. She says it's from a mail-in service. She's been planning this for months. Mark looked at the photo, his hand steady despite the shock on his face. It's a forgery. It has to be. She forged everything else. Why wouldn't she forge this? Because she's trying to TRUSAPART. She's trying to take Lily away from us. She's been building this case for years. Mark pulled me into his arms. I believe you. I believe you completely. We're going to fight this. We're going to get our own DNA test and prove she's lying. I buried my face in his chest and cried. I cried for Lily, for Mark, for the years of trust we had handed over to a woman who had been scheming against us all along. I cried for the lost time, the stolen food, the lies that had poisoned everything. When I finally pulled away, Mark wiped my tears with his thumb. We're going to the lawyer. Right now. We're going to show her this test and find out what we can do. Patricia was in her office when we arrived, still in her coat, a sandwich half-eaten on her desk. She listened to our story, examined the photo of the DNA test, and shook her head slowly. This is a mail-in service, she said. They're notoriously unreliable. They have been known to mix up samples, return false results, even lose test tubes in the mail. More importantly, this is a test she ordered herself. There's no chain of custody, no independent verification. It's worthless in court. But she could use it to hurt us, I said. She could use it to create doubt. Patricia nodded. She could. Which is why we need to take preemptive action. I'll file a motion for a court-ordered DNA test. That test will be conducted by an independent lab with a strict chain of custody. If that test proves Mark is the father, her case falls apart. How long will that take? A few weeks. Maybe less. I'll expedite it. Mark put his hand on my shoulder. We'll get through this. She's not going to win. I looked at the photo of the forged DNA test. It had been Margaret's final weapon, her last desperate attempt to destroy us. But I knew, with a certainty that came from the deepest part of me, that we would survive this too. Lily was at home with a neighbor. She had eaten well that morning, and she had laughed when I tickled her belly. She was ours. She had always been ours. And no amount of forged documents or elaborate lies would change that. We left Patricia's office and walked back to the car. The sky had clouded over, threatening rain. I looked up at the gray sky and felt a strange sense of peace. Sarah, Mark said, opening my door. Are you okay? I turned to look at him. His face was worried, his eyes searching mine for reassurance. I reached up and touched his cheek. I'm fine. I'm better than fine. Because now I know her endgame. And once we prove her wrong, she has nothing left. Mark smiled. It was a small smile, but it was real. We're going to win this. I nodded. Yes. We are. Patricia called us into her office 2 days later with an urgency that made my stomach drop. Mark and I left Lily with a trusted neighbor and drove downtown in silence. The rain that had threatened the day before had finally arrived, streaking the CAR windows and blurring the world outside into watercolor SMARS. Patricia was already seated at her conference table when we arrived. She had a thick file folder open in front of her, and her reading glasses were perched low on her nose. She did not smile when we walked in. Sit down, she said. We have a lot to cover. Mark and I took our usual seats across from her. I gripped the armrests of the chair, my palms sweaty. What happened? Patricia pulled a document from the folder and slid it across the table. I had my paralegal do a deep dive into the mail-in DNA testing company Mark used. It's called Family Link Labs. They're based in a strip mall outside of Phoenix, and they have a history of complaints. Mixed-up samples, lost tests, inaccurate results. But that's not the interesting part. She slid another document to RDS. This is a subpoena I filed for their records. They were required to produce all documentation related to Mark's test. And look what they found. Mark and I leaned over the table. The document was a scanned image of an order form. Mark's name was at the top, along with her address and phone number. But there was something else. A note in the margin, written in her own handwriting, that had been scanned and saved with the file. Sample from child, Lily. Sample from father, David. Please ensure results show paternity. I read at the words, my vision going blurry. She told them what to put on the test. She actually told them to rig it. Patricia nodded. Family Link Labs has a very sloppy record-keeping system. They scanned the order form with the note still attached. It's right there in black and white. She instructed them to fabricate a positive paternity result. Mark grabbed the document and read it 3 times, his jaw tightening with each pass. She planned this months ago. She ordered the test, told them to rig it, and then sat on it until she needed it. Exactly, Patricia said. She was waiting for the right moment. She knew eventually you would discover what she was doing with the money and the formula. She was preparing her counterattack in advance. I felt a cold rage settle into my bones. She was going to use this to take Lily away from us. She was going to use a forged DNA test to prove I had an affair and that Mark wasn't the father. She would have taken her to court for custody. That was almost certainly her plan, Patricia confirmed. The forged DNA test was her nuclear option. If you backed her into a corner, she would have launched it. But we got to it first. Mark set the document down ruefully. What do we do with this? We use it, Patricia said. We add it to the police report. This is fraud, plain and simple. She not only forged financial documents, she attempted to defraud the court system with a fake paternity test. That's a felony in most jurisdictions. I leaned back in my chair, the rage slowly giving way to something else. Something that felt almost like relief. She's done. This is the end of her. Not quite, Patricia said. But it's the beginning of the end. I've already forwarded this evidence to the district attorney's office. They're going to add it to the charges. But I also need to prepare you for what comes next. What comes next? A deposition. Margaret's lawyer will be allowed to question you under oath. They will try to discredit the evidence, challenge the chain of custody, and paint you as an unreliable witness. They will also try to use the forged DNA test against you, even though we have proof it's fake. They'll argue that you fabricated the note, or that you coerced the lab into producing it. That's absurd, Mark said. We didn't even know the lab existed until yesterday. I know that. You know that. But a deposition is a battlefield, and Margaret's lawyer is going to fight dirty. She's going to bring up everything. Your marriage, your work history, your relationship with David. She's going to try to paint you as a woman who had an affair and is now trying to cover it up with lies. I met Patricia's eyes. I can handle it. I have nothing to hide. I believe you. But I want you to be prepared. Margaret's lawyer will be aggressive. She will try to provoke you, to make you angry, to catch you in an inconsistency. Stay calm. Stay factual. And let me do the talking whenever possible. We spent the next hour going over deposition strategy. Patricia drilled me on potential questions, coached me on how to answer without giving the other side ammunition. By the time we left her office, my head was spinning with legal jargon and hypothetical scenarios. The deposition was scheduled for the following week. The days in between were a blur of preparation and anxiety. I reviewed documents, practiced my answers, and tried to keep Lily's routine as normal as possible. She was eating better now, gaining a little weight, her cheeks slowly filling out. That small victory kept me going when everything else felt overwhelming. The morning of the deposition, I woke up with a knot in my stomach so tight I could barely swallow my coffee. Mark drove me to the courthouse, his hand resting on my knee the whole way. You're going to be fine, he said. Just tell the truth. That's all you have to do. The deposition room was a small, windowless space with a long table and chairs on either side. Patricia sat beside me, her legal pad and pen ready. Across the table, Margaret's lawyer, a sharp-faced woman named Rebecca, arranged her own notes with clinical precision. Margaret herself was not there. She was not required to be. Rebecca began with soft questions, the kind designed to lull me into a false sense of security. My name. My address. My occupation. How long I had been married. How long I had known my mother-in-law. Then she shifted. Mrs. Risen, when did you first become worried that your mother-in-law was giving your daughter bread and water instead of formula? I took a deep breath. About 2 weeks ago. I came home early from work and saw it happening. And you were upset. Of course I was upset. Any mother would be. Rebecca nodded, making a note. Did you ever confront her about it before that day? No. I didn't know it was happening before that day. Did you ever notice any signs that your daughter was not being properly fed? I paused. The question was a trap, I could feel it. If I said no, she would argue I was an inattentive mother. If I said yes, she would argue I had ignored the warning signs. I noticed she seemed tired and a little thin, I said ruefully. But I thought it was a phase. I trusted my mother-in-law completely. I had no reason to suspect she was being dishonest. Rebecca leaned forward. You trusted her completely. Even though you had given her a hardship allowance of $3,000 a month. Yes. That was payment for her time and CA $3,000 a month is a substantial amount, Mrs. Risen. Were you worried that your mother-in-law was using that money to support her other son and his family? I felt my jaw tighten. I found out about that recently. I did not know at the time. Rebecca smiled. It was not a wa-rm smile. So you were paying your mother-in-law $3,000 a month, and you had no idea what she was doing with the money. Does that strike you as negligent? Patricia objected. Argumentative. My client is not on trial here. Rebecca waved a dismissive hand. I'll rephrase. Mrs. H.A. Risen, did you ever ask your mother-in-law to provide receipts for the money you gave her? I swallowed hard. No. I trusted her. You trusted her with your child, your money, and your home. And now you're accusing her of theft and neglect. Isn't it possible that you simply weren't paying enough attention? I pay attention to my daughter every single day. I love her more than anything. I would never neglect her. Rebecca's voice sharpened. Then why did it take you so long to notice she was underfed? Because I trusted the wrong person. I made a mistake. I admit that. But the mistake was trusting Margaret, not neglecting Lily. Rebecca moved on to the DNA test. She held up a copy of the forged results. Mrs. H.A. Risen, do you recognize this document? Yes. It's the forged DNA test Margaret presented to me. Forged, Rebecca repeated, her eyebrows arching. You claim it's forged. But you have no proof of that, do you? Patricia slid the scanned order form across the table. Actually, we do. This is the original order form from Family Link Labs, showing that Margaret instructed the lab to produce a positive paternity result. The handwriting has been verified by a forensic document examiner. Rebecca looked at the document, her expression flickering for just a moment. Then she recovered. That document could have been fabricated by anyone. There's no proof that my client wrote that note. The forensic examiner disagrees. We have a sworn affidavit. Rebecca pressed her lips together. She was losing ground, and she knew it. She tried a few more angles, asking about my work schedule, my relationship with David, my willingness to take responsibility. But each question was met with a calm, factual answer. I had read for this. I had practiced until the words felt like second nature. When it was finally over, Rebecca gathered her notes and left without a word. Patricia turned to me, a airy smile on her face. You did excellent. She didn't get anything out of you. I exhaled, my whole body trembling with residual tension. Is it over? Not quite. There will be more hearings, more motions. But this was a major step. Margaret's credibility is now in serious doubt. The court will see her as someone who forges documents and lies under oath. Mark was waiting for me in the hallway. He pulled me into a tight embrace. I heard everything from the observation room. You were incredible. I just told the truth. Exactly. And the truth is on our side. We walked out of the courthouse into the gray afternoon. The rain had stopped, leaving the streets wet and glistening. I looked up at the sky and felt a weight lift off my shoulders. We had survived the first major battle. There would be more, I knew that. But for now, we had won. That evening, we sat in the living room with Lily between us. She was playing with her blocks, stacking them into a wobbly tower. I watched her small hands, so determined and steady, and felt a surge of love so fierce it almost hurt. Mark said quietly. I want to ask you something. I turned to him. What, even after everything she's done, I still feel like I owe her something. She's my mother. She raised me. And I can't just turn off that love. I took his hand. I know. I don't expect you to. She's your mother, Mark. No matter what she's done, she's still your mother. But I'm not going to let her get away with this. I'm not going to let her hurt our family again. I squeezed his hand. Neither am I. We're in this together. Whatever comes next, we face it together. Lily's tower toppled, and she laughed her high, bubbly laugh. The sound filled the room, chasing away the shadows of the day. I looked at my husband and my daughter and knew, with absolute certainty, that we would survive this. Not because we were perfect, but because we were together. The week after the deposition passed in a strange, suspended stillness. The house felt quieter without Margaret's presence, but the silence was no longer menacing. It was peaceful. I found myself noticing small things I had overlooked for years. The way the morning light fell across the kitchen floor. The sound of Lily's laughter echoing through the hallway. The simple comfort of Mark's hand in mine as we sat on the couch after she was asleep. We received a letter from Patricia on Thursday morning. It was marked urgent, and I opened it with trembling hands. The contents were brief but significant. The district attorney had decided to proceed with formal charges against Margaret: theft, fraud, identity theft, and attempted parental alienation. The last one was a new addition, something Patricia had fought to include. It meant Margaret had been actively trying to destroy our family, not just steal from us. Mark read the letter over my shoulder. Attempted parental alienation. That's serious. It means they believe she was trying to take Lily away from us, I said. The forged DNA test, the lies about my relationship with David. She wasn't just stealing money. She was building a case to steal our daughter. Mark sat down heavily at the kitchen table. How did we not see this? How did we let her get so close? I sat across from him, my hands wrapped around a cup of coffee that had gone cold. Because she's been doing this her whole life. She's a master manipulator. She had decades of practice before she ever met us. The phone rang. I picked it up without looking at the caller ID. It was David. I just got a call from Mom's lawyer, he said. They're trying to get me to testify against you. They want me to say that I had an affair with you, that Lily is my daughter. I felt the blood drain from my face. What did you tell them? I told them the truth. I said nothing ever happened between us. I said I've never touched you inappropriately. I said Lily is Mark's daughter and anyone who says otherwise is lying. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. Thank you, David. That means more than you know. Emily is still not speaking to me, he said quietly. But I'm trying to do the right thing. For her, for Ethan, for all of us. I know I made mistakes. I know I should have asked more questions. But I'm trying now. I softened my voice. That's all any of us can do. Try to do better than we did before. We talked for a few more minutes, then hung up. Mark looked at me with worried eyes. What did David want? His mother's lawyer tried to get him to lie. He refused. Mark nodded slowly. He's finally rooting to see her for who she really is. The next few days brought more developments. Patricia called with updates, each one chipping away at Margaret's defenses. The bank had finalized the freeze on all accounts with her name. The credit bureau had confirmed that Mark's identity had been stolen and used to open multiple lines of credit. The forensic document examiner had submitted a sworn affidavit confirming that Margaret's handwriting matched the note instructing the DNA lab to fake the results. And then, on the following Tuesday, the deposition was formally scheduled. The courtroom where Margaret would have to face the consequences of her actions. The night before, I lay awake in bed, ring at the ceiling. Mark was asleep beside me, his breathing slow and even. I replayed the events of the past few weeks in my mind, trying to piece together how we had gotten here. I remembered the first time I met Margaret. She had been warm and welcoming, full of stories about Mark's childhood and her own life as a young mother. I had felt so lucky to have such a kind mother-in-law. Other women complained about their husbands' mothers, but I had nothing but praise for Margaret. Now I knew the truth. The warmth had been a mask. The kindness had been a tool. She had been plotting and scheming from the very beginning. In the morning, I dressed carefully for the deposition. A simple navy suit, low heels, minimal jewelry. I wanted to look professional and composed, not defensive. Patricia had told me to treat the deposition like a job interview. Present yourself well, answer honestly, and let the facts speak for themselves. Mark drove us to the courthouse. He was quiet during the drive, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. I reached over and covered his hand with mine. We're going to be fine. I know. I just hate that she's put us through this. She's made us relive every painful moment, every betrayal. But we're surviving. That's what matters. The deposition room was the same sterile space where I had been questioned before. Margaret was already there, seated at the table with her lawyer, Rebecca. She looked smaller than I remembered, her shoulders hunched, her face pale and drawn. She did not look at me when I walked in. She read straight ahead, her eyes fixed on some invisible point on the wall. Rebecca began the questioning with a light touch, asking about the timeline of events. I answered briefly, sticking to facts and dates. Margaret's lawyer was trying to establish a pattern, but the pattern was becoming increasingly clear. Margaret had systematically drained our resources while secretly supporting David's family. Mrs. Risen, when did you first discover that your mother-in-law was using your funds to support your brother-in-law's family? A few weeks ago. When I saw the bank statements. And how did you feel when you discovered this? Betrayed. Angry. Deeply hurt. Rebecca nodded, making a note. She shifted tactics, moving to the DNA test. You claim the DNA test my client presented was forged. Can you explain how you know this? Patricia interjected. Objection. The witness has already provided evidence of forgery through forensic analysis. The document from Family Link Labs CLIA RLY shows the instruction. Rebecca pressed on. Have you ever had an affair with your brother-in-law, David? No. Never. Have you ever had any inappropriate relationship with him? No. I have been faithful to my husband throughout our entire marriage. Rebecca's eyes narrowed. You're certain about that? I am absolutely certain. Margaret shifted in her seat. Her lawyer shot her a warning glance. The questioning continued for another hour, covering every angle, every possibility. Rebecca tried to trip me up with dates and details, but I had reviewed everything so many times that the facts were etched into my memory. Finally, Patricia stood up. My client has answered enough questions. Unless you have something new to add, we're done here. Rebecca looked at Margaret, who gave a barely perceptible nod. We have no further questions at this time. The deposition was over. I stood up on shaky legs and walked to the door. Mark was waiting for me in the hallway, his face anxious. How did it go? I think it went well. She didn't get anything useful out of me. Patricia joined us, her expression pleased. Rebecca had nothing. The evidence is too strong. I'd be surprised if they don't settle before trial. Settle? Mark asked. What would a settlement look like? Margaret would plead guilty to the charges in exchange for a lighter sentence. She'd avoid a lengthy trial, and we'd avoid the public spectacle. But it would mean she admits to everything. I looked at the closed door of the deposition room. Margaret was still inside with her lawyer. I thought about everything she had done, all the hours of manipulation and lies. I want her to admit it, I said. I want her to look us in the eye and admit what she did. Patricia nodded. I can push for that. It might take some negotiation, but I think it's possible. We left the courthouse and drove home. The sky was clear and blue, a sharp contrast to the gray days of the past few weeks. Lily was at home with a neighbor, playing in the backyard. I watched her through the kitchen window, chasing a butterfly with her small hands. Her laugh rang through the open window. Mark came up behind me and wrapped his arms around my waist. She's happy. She's safe. That's what matters. I know. I leaned back against him. But I can't help thinking about how close we came to losing her. If Margaret had succeeded with that DNA test, she would have taken Lily away from us. She didn't succeed. We stopped her. We stopped her together. The settlement negotiations took another 2 weeks. Patricia kept us updated on the progress, each call bringing us closer to a resolution. Margaret's lawyer was fighting for a lighter sentence, arguing that Margaret was elderly and in poor health. But the evidence was too strong. The forgery, the theft, the identity fraud. She was facing serious charges. On the day of the settlement hearing, we gathered in a small courtroom. Margaret sat at the defense table, her lawyer beside her. She was wearing a simple gray dress, her hair neatly pinned. She looked like a grandmother attending a church service. But her eyes gave her away. They were empty and flat, drained of all the fight that had sustained her for so long. The judge read the charges aloud. Margaret pleaded guilty to each one. Her voice was barely audible, a thin whisper that seemed to dissolve in the air. When it was over, she stood up and turned to face us. Her eyes met mine, and for a moment, I saw something flicker in their depths. Regret. Remorse. Or maybe just exhaustion. I'm sorry, she said. The words were quiet, almost inaudible. I'm sorry for everything I did. Mark stepped forward. Why did you do it? Why did you hurt our daughter like that? Margaret's face crumpled. I thought I was helping David. I thought he needed me more. And I thought you had so much, that you wouldn't miss the little things. I didn't realize how far I had gone until it was too late. I stepped forward, standing beside Mark. You stole from our daughter. You fed her bread and water while you gave Ethan the best formula money could buy. That wasn't helping anyone. That was destroying our family. Margaret's eyes filled with tears. I know. I know what I did. And I'll spend the rest of my life regretting it. The judge announced the sentence. Margaret would serve 12 months of house arrest, pay restitution for the stolen funds, and undergo counseling for compulsive behavior. She would also be prohibited from any unsupervised contact with Lily until a court-appointed evaluator determined she was no longer a threat. It was not prison. But it was enough. Enough to acknowledge what she had done. Enough to protect our family. We walked out of the courtroom together. Mark took my hand, and I held Lily close. David was waiting in the hallway with Emily, who had finally come home. They stood off to the side, their faces strained but not hostile. Emily stepped forward. I'm sorry, she said. I should have known. I should have asked more questions. I shook my head. We all should have. But we're here now. That's what matters. We parted ways outside the courthouse. Mark and I walked to our car, Lily chattering happily about the birds and the trees. I buckled her into her car seat and slid into the passenger seat. Mark root the engine and pulled out of the parking lot. House arrest, he said. That's not what I expected. It's fair, I said. She's an elderly woman. She won't survive prison. This way, she faces consequences without being destroyed. Mark glanced at me. You're being generous. After everything she did. I'm not being generous. I'm being practical. The point was to stop her from hurting us. That's been accomplished. The rest is just punishment. We drove home in silence. When we pulled into the driveway, I turned to Mark. I want to sell the house. He read at me. What I want to sell this house. I want to start fresh. Somewhere new. Where there are no memories of Margaret. Where we can build a life without the shadow of everything that happened here. Mark was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. Okay. We'll sell the house. We'll find something smaller. Something that feels like ours. I reached over and took his hand. We'll start over. Just the three of us. Lily's voice drifted from the back seat. Mama, home. I turned and smiled at her. Yes, baby. We're home. But I knew it wasn't the house that made it home. It was the three of us, together. And no amount of betrayal or scheming would ever change that. The house went on the market 3 weeks after the settlement hearing. I had expected to feel sad, packing up the rooms where Lily had taken her first steps and said her first words. But instead, I felt a strange sense of lightness. Each box we taped shut held memories, yes, but also the weight of Margaret's presence. The kitchen where she had fed my daughter bread and water. The living room where she had smiled and lied to my face. The hallway where she had walked out with her suitcase, her head held high, still convinced she was in the right. Mark and I worked side by side, sorting through years of accumulated belongings. We donated most of it to a local shelter. Clothes, toys, furniture. Things that had once seemed essential now felt like clutter. Lily helped by placing her stuffed animals into a box with solemn concentration. She was too young to understand the magnitude of what was happening, but she seemed to sense the shift in the air. She was calmer, more relaxed, her laughter coming more easily than it had in months. We found a smaller house on the other side of town. A modest 3-bedroom with a fenced backyard and a porch swing that creaked in the wind. It needed work, but that was part of the appeal. We could make it our own. Paint the walls whatever colors we wanted. Plant flowers in the garden. Fill the rooms with new memories that had nothing to do with Margaret. The move took a full weekend. Our friends came to help, carrying boxes and assembling furniture. David showed up on Sunday with a truck and a sheepish expression. He had brought Emily and Ethan, and for the first time in months, the tension between us had eased. Emily helped me arrange Lily's new room, hanging curtains and setting up the crib. She didn't mention the past. Neither did I. We were both trying to move forward when the last box was unpacked and the last piece of furniture was in place. We stood in the living room and looked around. The walls were bare, the floor scuffed, but it felt like ours. It felt like a beginning. Mark wrapped an arm around my shoulder. What do you think? I leaned into him. I think it's perfect. That night, we ordered pizza and sat on the floor with Lily between us. She ate with enthusiasm, her cheeks full and round. The doctor had given her a clean bill of health at her last checkup. She was gaining weight, hitting all her milestones, and the nutritional deficiency was a thing of the past. I watched her smear tomato sauce on her chin and felt a wave of gratitude so strong it made my chest ache. Thank you, I said to Mark, for everything. For believing me. For standing by me. He smiled. I didn't do anything. I just told the truth. Sometimes that's the rightest thing to do. Lily finished her pizza and climbed into my lap. I held her close, breathing in the smell of her hair, the warmth of her small body. We're going to be okay, I whispered. We're going to be just fine. A few weeks later, Patricia called with an update. Margaret had sta her house arrest. She was living in a small apartment David had found for her, with a monitoring bracelet on her ankle. She was attending counseling sessions, though Patricia wasn't optimistic about the outcome. Some people, she said, were too set in their ways to change. She's still trying to contact David, Patricia told me. But he's keeping his distance. He told her he needs time. Time for what? Time to decide whether he wants a relationship with her. He's torn. He loves his mother, but he also knows what she did. He's trying to find a way to reconcile the two. I understood David's conflict. I had felt it myself, in the early days of the discovery. Margaret had been part of our lives for so long, woven into the fabric of our family. Cutting her out had felt like cutting off a piece of ourselves. But we had done it. We had survived. I asked about Ellen's farmhouse. Patricia assured me that the property was safe. Margaret's attempt to sell it had been blocked, and Ellen's retaker had been granted temporary guardianship. Ellen was comfortable in her facility, and her affairs were being handled by someone who had her best interests at heart. Justice, in its own way, Mark said when I told him. Yes. But more than that, peace. That's what I want now. Peace. Lily sta root preschool that autumn. It was a small, cheerful place with a garden and a sandbox and a teacher who wore flower print dresses and smelled like lavender. On her first day, she clung to my leg and refused to let go. I knelt down and looked her in the eye. Lily, you're going to have so much fun. You'll make new friends. You'll play games and sing songs. And when it's over, I'll be right here waiting for you. She looked at me with those big blue eyes, so full of trust. Mama, wait, I will always wait for you, baby. Always. She let go of my leg and walked into the classroom. I watched her go, my heart swelling with pride and a little bit of sadness. She was growing up so fast. The days were long, but the hours were short. Mark and I sta root going on dates again. Nothing fancy, just dinner at a quiet restaurant or a walk through the park. We talked about everything and nothing. Work, dreams, the future. We had been through so much together, and somehow, we had come out stronger. The trust we had rebuilt was deeper than anything we had before. One evening, we sat on the porch swing of our new house, watching the sunset. The sky was painted in shades of orange and pink, and the air was seal and crisp. Lily was asleep inside, her soft breathing coming through the baby monitor on the table beside us. I was thinking, Mark said, about how different things are now. A year ago, I never would have imagined we'd be here. Neither would I. I thought we had everything figured out. A good job, a nice house, a happy family. I thought I had it all. You do have it all, he said. We have each other. We have Lily. We have a home. That's more than most people ever get. I leaned my head on his shoulder. You're right. I just had to lose some things to appreciate what I had. Mark kissed the top of my head. Me too. We sat in silence for a while, watching the stars appear one by one. The world felt vast and full of possibility. The past was behind us, and the future stretched out ahead, unknown but hopeful. David called on Thanksgiving. He had made peace with Emily, and they were spending the holiday with her family. He asked if we wanted to meet up for coffee the following week, just the two of them and us. I said yes. I was ready to rebuild the relationship, slowly and fully. Not forgetting what had happened, but not letting it define us either. Ellen retaker sent us a Christmas road. It had a photo of Ellen, smiling in her wheelchair, holding a bouquet of flowers. She looked happy. She looked peaceful. I hung the card on the refrigerator, a quiet reminder that some battles had been won. Margaret's name came up less and less. When it did, it was with a neutral tone, like speaking of a distant acquaintance. The anger had faded, replaced by a dull sadness. She had been given a chance to be part of our lives, and she had chosen to destroy that chance. That was her loss, not ours. In the spring, Lily turned 3. We threw a small party in the backyard of our new house. David and Emily came, bringing Ethan and a cake shaped like a unicorn. Lily was delighted. She ran around the yard with her cousin, their laughter mixing with the birdsong. I stood on the porch, watching them. Mark came up beside me and took my hand. Look at her. She's so happy. She is. And she's healthy. And she's safe. I turned to him. That's all I ever wanted. The party wound down as the afternoon turned to evening. Our friends left one by one, and soon it was just the 3 of us. Lily was exhausted, her eyes drooping as Mark right her inside. I gathered the leftover plates and cups, stacking them neatly on the kitchen counter. When I went to tuck Lily in, she was already half asleep. Her stuffed bunny was clutched to her chest, and her thumb was in her mouth. I smoothed her hair back from her forehead and kissed her cheek. Good night, my love, I whispered. She stirred slightly, her eyes fluttering open. Mama, yes, baby, I love you. I felt TRS prick at my eyes. I love you too, Lily. More than anything in the world. She smiled and closed her eyes again. I watched her for a long moment, then quietly closed the door. Mark was waiting for me in the living room. He had lit a few candles and opened a bottle of wine. The house was quiet, the only sound the soft hum of the refrigerator. To us, he said, raising his glass. To us, I echoed. We clinked glasses and drank. The wine was smooth and warm, settling in my chest like a small fire. It's over, Mark said. All of it. The court cases, the custody hearings, the FIA. It's really over. It's over, I agreed. And what comes next is ours to decide. Mark set down his glass and pulled me into his arms. I love you, he said. I know I've said it 1,000 times, but I mean it more than ever. What we went through, it made me realize how much I need you. How much I need this family. I hugged him back, burying my face in his chest. I need you too. We're a team. We always have been. We stood there in the candlelight, holding each other. The past was behind us, but it had shaped us. The future was uncertain, but we were ready for it. Together. A year later, I sat at the kitchen table of our little house, sipping coffee and watching Lily build a tower of blocks on the floor. Mark was at work, and I had the day off. The sun streamed through the windows, warm and golden. I thought about everything that had happened. The bread and water. The forged DNA test. The courtroom battles. The FIA and the anger and the despair. And I thought about how it had all led to this. This quiet morning. This peaceful room. This beautiful, laughing child. I had spent so long being angry at Margaret, angry at her lies, her betrayal, her cruelty. But the anger had faded, replaced by something softer. Understanding, maybe. Or simply acceptance. She had been broken in ways I would never fully understand. And her brokenness had spilled over into our lives, causing damage that we were still repairing. But we were repairing it. Slowly, carefully, day by day. And that was enough. Lily's tower toppled, and she laughed her high, bubbly laugh. I smiled and knelt down beside her, helping her stack the blocks again. Higher, Mama, she said. Go higher. I reached for another block. Higher, I agreed. We'll always go higher.